Hey everyone, this is Josh from before. I'm here with McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Armored Batman, and this is clearly based on the armor from The Dark Knight Returns, but they've taken some liberties, and it seems more like a kind of a hybrid between The Dark Knight Returns and the Batman v Superman armor. I'll talk about that a little bit more once I get into them. Let's go ahead and just open them up. So he's definitely very big and heavy. And again, this is kind of a weird hybrid art style. Usually when they do these characters that are based on a specific appearance from the comic, they match that art style as close as they can. And this is, you know, like if you've seen the Mafex Dark Knight Returns figures, those are perfect matches for how those appeared in the comics. This seems like it's a closer art style to the way the New 52 and other comic book source characters are rendered, which for me is like, I'm okay with that because I'm not a huge fan of the Dark Knight Returns art style. But for those out there that are a fan of that and are you know, looking to capture that specifically, this isn't going to be a perfect match for that. It's not a perfect match for the Ben Affleck version, so it's unusual, and it makes me wonder, like, who are they kind of catering to? Again, I'm okay with it. I like it, but it seems odd that they would call this the Dark Knight Returns version because it's not quite there. And another thing is, you know, we saw some leaked photos of this a while back, and it had slightly different color choices. It had a yellow belt. It had a different color of his suit underneath the armor. And I kind of preferred that color scheme. It just popped a little bit more. But anyway, it's a really nice sculpt. There's a lot of detail, a lot of scratches and dings on his armor that look really good. Unfortunately, doesn't have enough paint to bring all those details out, but that's kind of the world we live in. A lot going on. Look at all these big spikes on his feet. Could really mess somebody up. These, if you can see these Shin Guards or whatever you want to call them on his legs down here are soft rubbery material. I expected the torso to be a bit softer as well, but it seems pretty rigid. We'll see how much it can move around. This cape is really fantastic. It really looks like it's made out of fabric, and it looks like it's really heavy. You know, it looks like it weighs like 75 pounds hanging off of his shoulders there. It's a great look. So let's start moving him. A lot of side-to-side head movement, which is nice. His big chin and his big helmet kind of keep him from looking up and down a ton, but there's some decent movement in there, and yeah, especially if you want him looking up if he's fighting Superman. So he's got these shoulder pads that get in the way. They run into this cape quite a bit, so getting much lift on those shoulders is kind of tricky. But once you get it up there, it's got a decent amount of clearance and can rotate. No bicep cut at all, so that's just shoulder and rotating from the shoulder. He's got these single elbows that also do not have much clearance because they start running into the bicep here, what this gauntlet does. But it's a single shoulder with the swivel, which is nice. Ball joints on the wrists are kind of tucked up pretty far. You might have to wrestle with it to get any movement out of those. Oh, I'm getting a little bit. Pretty tough to get a lot of movement out there, but there's some. Looks like slightly more bend on this right elbow. Just the way that it hits on the bicep. Kind of hard to see, but so I'm curious about this torso though. It's got a nice rotation. And oh, it's got a pretty good movement. He's not gonna move forward much, but he's got a little bit there, more than I expected with as rigid as this torso ended up being. You kind of got to push that, sort of pull that belt out a little bit so he can clear in there. Not bad though, honestly. It'll give you a little bit of movement, but he's obviously doesn't have any ab crunch. She's very rigid right there. That waist gives some good movement. He's got a little bit of swivel here in the hips, which is nice. And he can do some pretty decent big kicks. Side to side is not as much because this armor on his thighs starts running into the belt, but you can kind of push it a little bit up in there. Let's see if I can. I mean, if you get it just so right under that belt, you can almost do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme. Pretty good. Same forward and back. That's pretty nice leg movement on a big guy like this. He's got double knees with this nice kneecap sort of cover there. Fairly decent knee movement. Pretty good for a guy with this much armor on it. I mean, look at how thick this armor is on him. And then nice movement on these ankles with the way this material is soft. It's got a lot of give, and actually it's got a surprising amount of range on those ball joints on the ankles. Toe movement as well. I don't know if that lines up exactly where his toe should be, but he got some movement there, which is nice. So between his big spiky feet and this very heavy cape that gives him kind of high center of gravity, he's pretty tricky to stand up in any kind of pose that has his legs like kind of splayed out. He does have the hockey puck stand, which will be nice for balancing, but kind of tricky to just get him to even stand up. You can see he comes out of the box with a fist hand and kind of an open accessory hand, and then he's got two open sort of gesture hands that could, hold an object. He could be catching a punch from somebody. But I will say those fingers all look like little dicks. The hands pop off really easily. Go right back on. Here he is with those other hands. The fingers all look like tiny dicks. So here's how he stacks up next to a couple other characters. As you can see, this art style helps him fit in a bit better with characters like this, but again, it doesn't match the Frank Miller style. So if that's what you're really holding out for, if that's what you're a big fan of, you're not really getting that. So it does make me kind of wonder who this is for exactly. I dig it, but I don't know if there's going to be a ton of people that are super keen on this specific design. Here he is with a couple other characters here. I definitely kind of want to see this guy go toe to toe with Superman. Rumors are that there's going to be a 2-pack with this and a Superman, but I don't know which version of Superman that's going to be. I don't know. That might be that new 52 one that's coming out with the infected body. We'll see. But these would pair pretty well together, honestly. And then here he is next to a couple of oversized characters, Devastator and Bane. Not quite on scale with something as big as Bane, but he could hold his own, I think, with Devastator here. He's right about the right size to really throw down with him. Could make for some good scenes. So there you go. There's Armored Batman. If again, I'm kind of digging the style of this, and because the Frank Miller style is a little overboard for me, and this guy I think will fit in really well with a lot of the other figures that I already have. Instead of now needing to collect like a bunch of Dark Knight Returns-esque designs. So I'm into it, but yeah, if you're a big Dark Knight Returns fan, I don't know if this is going to check your boxes for you. Anyway, that's all I got on this one. I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.